Yeah, this story is about Lisa's agent, Karen, who's down in the dumps. Lisa owns a real estate business with her daughter, and it's a full service, you know, they do this, and a lot of times they don't charge for stuff because eventually when there's a sale, they'll get their commission and all. And so one day when Lisa gets to work at the office, Karen, who is one of the agents working for him, she was down, just despondent. She looked depressed, and she had good reason to be. In the year before, she'd lost both her mother and her husband, and now she told Ellen, you know, what had happened. Her best friend had also lost her 40-year-old daughter, and that left 4 kids. And now Karen was feeling depressed for her friend. And of course, you know, the whole weight of her own loss within the year of both her husband and her mother, and now her best friend losing her daughter, the whole business just dropped on Karen just like that, and she was really down. And she told Ellen, she says, I don't want to go there again, because she had been in that state before when her husband and mother both went. And she said she didn't want to be there. So Lisa sat down with her and she said, now here's the thing about Lisa and her daughter. They own the business, but they seldom brought up ECKANKAR or anything about it. It wasn't because they were ashamed of it. They just didn't want to put their agents on the spot because they were very considerate of their religious beliefs. And they didn't want their bosses, you know, here saying, all right, and then pounding on them. That isn't what the real estate of business is about. And so they were very careful about how they spoke about ECKANKAR or the ECK teachings or anything else. And they didn't do it much, even between themselves. But this time Lisa sat down and she said to Karen, who's in this very depressed state, she says, maybe I can help. And she began to tell her about the Hue song, which you did so beautifully just a little bit ago, the love song to God. And she didn't know Karen's religious beliefs, and so she hastened to add, she says, you know, this isn't to change your beliefs or anything, but it's to enhance your connection with God. And then she offered Karen a Hue CD for herself and her friend. Then Karen told her an interesting story. 30 years earlier, she'd been married to a high initiate of ECKANKAR. But he wouldn't tell her the first thing about it. He wouldn't say one word. This is very different. And so then he became very upset when she told him dreams where she'd been with him. She went with him. And this guy, he just had it all wrong. He thought he was so highly evolved that who is she? You know, that she was going to be up there traveling with him in the outer spaces of time or existence or wherever he went. But there she was, and she was, happy as a little bird, telling him all about this. And then Karen had wondered about ECKANKAR in rather a hit or miss fashion. And then Lisa gently explained that her husband must have been one of the earliest members of ECKANKAR who had come in under Paul Twitchell. And Lisa added, she said, you were the wife of an initiate, so you had a master always standing by when you went into the dream worlds. You were never alone. And so Lisa offered her ECKANKAR ancient wisdom for today. And then 2 days later, back in the office, there was Karen, her usual happy self, and she told about a dream she'd had. She was strolling along and remembered Lisa speaking of a guide who was always with her, and then she saw something ahead of her that she ran. She was going to pick it up, and just like that, she fell flat on her face. Something had happened. She didn't expect that. And then she turned around real quick, and she saw a man grabbing this dark being, which was this entity of depression that had jumped on her back and had been responsible for her feeling down and depressed and everything, and responsible for her fall in the dream. So the man grabbed the dark being that had jumped on her back and caused the fall, and he just simply discarded the entity. And then she was rid of depression, and Karen was back to her old self, chipper and upbeat. And that's just an example of how the masters work in the dream state. They give protection. They're there. Sometimes you don't see them, but they're there. If you have any interest in ECK at all, or if you, in this lifetime, have a choice of whether or not to come to the path of ECK, then an ECK master is standing by you in your dreams. Now, that's another example of the subtle golden thread of ECK love.